What if your favorite rapper wrote his own obituary years before his death? Tupac spoke of dying young. Juice WRLD rapped about overdosing. XXXTentacion said he'd be a legend if he died that day. And then, they all did. Coincidence? Or is there a pattern hidden in the beat? It always starts as art. A lyric written at 2 a.m., a thought scribbled in a notebook, a melody whispered into the dark. But sometimes art sounds too much like prophecy. Sometimes the words artists sing don't just describe their lives. They foretell their endings. For decades, rap has been a mirror for struggle, survival, and death. But among its greatest poets, a strange pattern keeps repeating, voices that predicted their own deaths long before it happened. Not metaphorically, literally. Tupac, XXXTentacion, Juice WRLD, King Von. For names, for tragedies, for eerie echoes of words turned real. They weren't psychics, they were storytellers, but somewhere between rhyme and reality, their lyrics began to bleed into life. And that's where this story begins. In the space between coincidence and curse. Tupac Shakur, the poet who spoke in prophecy. Before his murder in 1996, Tupac seemed obsessed with death. He rapped about it constantly, not out of fear, but acceptance, almost like he knew his time was measured. In If I Die Tonight, he says, "I hope they bury me and send me to my rest." Headlines reading, "Murdered to death." In Only God Can Judge Me, he confesses, "I hear the doctor standing over me, screaming I can make it, got a body full of bullet holes, praying I can shake it." And in Hail Mary, recorded months before his death, he whispers, "I ain't a killer, but don't push me." Then later, the tone shifts, as though he's already gone. 6 months before his actual death, he released I Ain't Mad at Cha. The music video showed Tupac being shot, dying, and ascending to heaven. When the real bullets hit him in Las Vegas, fans froze, realizing he had already filmed his own ending. Was it art imitating life, or life following the script he'd already written? Some psychologists call it manifestation bias, the unconscious way our repeated thoughts steer reality. If you constantly speak of dying, your behavior subtly bends toward that fate. You drive faster, you take more risks, you stop believing you'll live to see 30. But others say it's deeper, spiritual. That Tupac knew, that artists vibrate on frequencies sensitive to time, trauma, and intuition, that sometimes they feel death coming long before the world does. Even his last album, The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory, was recorded in just 7 days. He renamed himself Machiavelli, after the philosopher Machiavelli, who famously faked his own death to outwit enemies. Then Tupac was gunned down, exactly 7 months after that recording. Coincidence or message? XXXTentacion, the livestream warning. If Tupac's prophecies came through lyrics, XXXTentacion's came through a livestream. On one of his final Instagram lives, the 20-year-old rapper stared into his phone and said, "If I'm going to die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy." Days later, he was ambushed and killed in his car outside a motorcycle shop. Fans replayed that video endlessly, claiming he predicted his death. But was it prediction or paranoia? His song Sad became a haunting soundtrack. Who am I? Someone that's afraid to let go. The words suddenly took on new meaning. His voice trembled between life and loss, as if he was preparing himself and his audience for the inevitable. Psychologists studying trauma say people who live with chronic threat develop death awareness, a subconscious readiness for the end. They notice patterns, omens, coincidences others ignore. Their intuition heightens. They dream of death before it comes. In X's final months, he had spoken repeatedly about changing his life, about making peace, about karma, almost like someone racing against an invisible clock. After his death, conspiracy threads exploded. Some claimed he was still alive. Others believed he was sacrificed, part of a larger pattern linking young, successful rappers to mysterious endings. Theories about energy exchange, occult signs in his videos, and hidden symbolism swirled across Reddit and YouTube. But one thing was clear, XXXTentacion felt something closing in, and he faced it almost calmly. Juice WRLD, we ain't making it past 21. Juice WRLD's voice was smooth, melodic, almost innocent, but his words were heavy with dread. In Legends, a tribute to fallen artists Lil Peep and XXXTentacion, he sang, "What's the 27 club? We ain't making it past 21. He died weeks after turning 21. A seizure, an overdose, a moment that felt both shocking and expected. Fans couldn't ignore the lyric. It was too exact, too chilling. Had he sensed it coming? Or did constant exposure to a culture of loss simply make it feel inevitable? Juice often spoke about anxiety, nightmares, and drugs as escape. In psychological terms, he was living within his shadow self, a Jungian concept where repressed fear and pain shape behavior from beneath the surface. The more he sang about death, the more it stalked him. His subconscious, overloaded with imagery of escape and endings, started turning those ideas into choices, little, subtle, irreversible choices. But there's also a more conspiratorial layer. Some fans noticed his December 8th death date, the same date John Lennon was killed. They linked it to the pattern of musical martyrs, where artists die young at symbolic moments, as if part of an unseen design. It might sound crazy, but patterns, whether real or invented, feed belief. And belief, when amplified by millions, creates reality's next chapter. King Von, the warrior who knew the endgame. King Von's lyrics weren't prophecy, they were confession. In Armed and Dangerous, he rapped, "It's safe to say I earned it. Ain't an asterisk 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 gave me nothing. Asterisk," and in interviews, he spoke with a strange acceptance about life and death. He'd grown up in an environment where death wasn't an ending. It was a rhythm. You lived fast. You adapted. You died when it was your turn. Psychologists call this trauma desensitization, when repeated exposure to loss rewires the brain to expect more loss. You stop fearing death, you plan for it. When he was shot in 2020, it almost felt pre-written, like the last page of a story he'd already finished in his head. But there's another theory, cultural manifestation. In hip-hop, speaking it into existence is part of the hustle, success, fame, legacy. But what if that same power works in reverse? What if speaking death into existence calls it closer? There's a strange silence that follows when an artist dies young. Fans replay old songs and suddenly, everything sounds like a clue. Every lyric, every post, every whisper dissected frame by frame, looking for proof that they somehow knew. But here's the truth, maybe they did. Not supernaturally, but psychologically. The human brain is a prediction machine. Every thought, every habit, every expectation creates micro-decisions that shape reality. If an artist believes they'll die young, their brain stops planning for the future. They take risks others avoid. They live faster. They think they're untouchable until they're not. This is called self-fulfilling prophecy, when belief becomes blueprint. It's not magic, it's math. But what happens when that belief is amplified by millions of people? Fans streaming songs about death. Crowds chanting, "We ain't making it past 21." Algorithms replaying grief like a prayer. That's where things turn darker. There's an old belief in metaphysics. Energy follows attention. In simpler terms, what you focus on grows. If an artist spends years singing about death, violence, or reincarnation, those frequencies vibrate through their life. And when millions sing along, the vibration magnifies. That's why conspiracy theorists claim some rappers are marked, not by secret societies or industry curses, but by collective energy. When millions of minds absorb their pain, fear, and fatalism, it begins to echo back. You can hear it in the interviews, the tired tone, the distant eyes, the soft acceptance. It's not depression, it's detachment. A strange peace that comes when you've already made peace with dying. Some say it's part of the artist's curse. The same energy that gives them genius also burns them out early. From Kurt Cobain to Amy Winehouse, from XXXTentacion to Juice WRLD, their flames burned bright and fast, like shooting stars, dazzling, brief, unforgettable. But what if it's not energy or prophecy? What if it's conditioning? In hip-hop, death isn't just tragedy, it's mythology. It's woven into the music, the origin stories, the legacy. To die a legend is almost a badge of honor. Tupac became immortal after death. Pop Smoke's legacy exploded posthumously. Even X's and Juice's streams skyrocketed once they were gone. Fame after death has become part of the machine. So, subconsciously, young artists might start to believe, maybe I'll be remembered more if I die now. And so begins the psychological loop. The brain learns to associate early death with eternal relevance. Combine that with trauma, fame pressure, and substance use, and prophecy becomes probability. But this phenomenon isn't new. Look back through history. John Lennon sang, "The way things are going, they're gonna crucify me," before he was shot. Jim Morrison predicted his own death within a year. The 27 Club became a cultural myth. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Cobain, Winehouse, all gone before 28. It's as if fame carries an expiration date. And the artists, whether consciously or not, can feel it approaching. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." For these artists, their shadow self, the part filled with fear, pain, and darkness, was constantly speaking through their lyrics. The more they tried to fight it, the louder it got. Their songs became therapy sessions broadcast to millions. But therapy requires healing, and fame rarely allows time for that. Juice WRLD used music to confess his addictions. XXXTentacion used it to mourn his rage. Tupac used it to channel his paranoia into poetry. Vaughn used it to relive survival. Each lyric was a message from their shadow, a warning they couldn't escape, and the audience, unaware, turned those cries into entertainment. We streamed their pain. We looped their prophecies. And in doing so, we might have helped them come true. There's an unsettling theory floating in dark corners of YouTube. The curse isn't on the artist. It's on the audience. That maybe, by constantly consuming trauma, songs about death, murder, overdose, tragedy, we keep those patterns alive. Our collective fascination with the doomed artist becomes an energetic feedback loop. We crave authenticity, pain, realness, but that craving feeds the very darkness we mourn. Think about it. When a rapper dies, their streams surge, their name trends, their face returns to timelines, t-shirts, and tribute posts. Fame multiplies tenfold in death. The machine rewards the tragedy, so it keeps happening. Is it possible that death itself has become part of the algorithm? In the industry's cold equations, outrage and grief bring clicks. Clicks bring money, and money never mourns. Some believe that's why so many deaths feel orchestrated, not necessarily by people but by patterns. Patterns that profit from pain. There's a theory among sound engineers that no voice ever truly disappears. Every vibration, every note, every scream ever recorded still exists somewhere in the atmosphere, infinitely bouncing, too faint for human ears to hear. If that's true, then the world is still echoing with Tupac's verses, with X's confessions, with Juice WRLD's cries for help, with Vaughn's warnings, each voice suspended in the static of time, haunting proof that sound is eternal, even when the artist isn't. And maybe that's what immortality really means. Not living forever, but being replayed forever. In 2025, the curse doesn't end with death. It uploads itself. AI models are now trained on the voices of the dead. Tupac features on tracks decades after his passing. XXXTentacion's voice is cloned into new songs. Juice WRLD's unreleased snippets are stretched, remixed, completed by code. The machine doesn't just remember, it resurrects. But here's where the line between technology and mysticism blurs, because those AI-generated lyrics sometimes sound too real, too aware, almost like the voice behind them still knows something we don't. Digital resurrection isn't art, it's simulation. And when millions listen to simulated pain, simulated despair, simulated death, are we feeding the same cycle all over again? The cycle that began with words and ends with echoes. Imagine this. An AI predicts the next artist likely to die based on lyrical tone, stress frequency, and emotional data from their songs. Imagine labels using that data to plan posthumous releases. Imagine fans streaming those songs, believing in curses, and unknowingly keeping them alive. It's not prophecy anymore. It's pattern recognition. And that might be even scarier. The deeper question isn't why these artists predicted their deaths. It's why we wanted them to. Why do we crave stories where tragedy feels fated? Maybe because we want meaning in chaos. Because a curse feels more comforting than coincidence. Because if it's destiny, at least someone or something is in control. But maybe the truth is far simpler and far more human. Maybe artists like Tupac, X, Juice, and Vaughn weren't prophets or victims of curses. Maybe they were mirrors, showing us a culture that romanticizes its own self-destruction. We love stories about death that feel poetic. We love when the pain feels cinematic. But we forget that these were real people, trapped in the noise between survival and art. And every time they wrote about dying, they were really just writing about living, too fast, too loud, too soon. There's an old spiritual idea that before we die, our souls whisper to us. Some call it intuition. Others call it a message from God, a glimpse beyond time. In this theory, death isn't predicted, it's remembered. Like a movie we've already seen, playing again from the start. So maybe Tupac's prophecies weren't predictions. Maybe XXXTentacion's livestream wasn't paranoia. Maybe Juice WRLD's lyrics weren't coincidences. Maybe each of them simply heard their ending faintly calling and turned it into art. Because that's what artists do. They translate what the rest of us only feel into something we can hear. Imagine them all now, 4 voices frozen in time, still echoing through headphones around the world. For souls who saw too much, felt too deeply, and tried to make peace with the inevitable. And maybe, just maybe, they succeeded, because even though they're gone, their words still move millions. Their energy still lingers. Their stories still spark wonder, fear, and awe. That's not death. That's immortality. We ain't making it past 21. If I die tonight, if I'm to die or be a sacrifice, they all spoke their endings, and we turned them into beginnings. Songs reborn, legends rebuilt, ghosts still rapping through time. So what do you believe? Did they predict their deaths? Or did we help make them come true? Is it prophecy, or is it programming? A curse, or a mirror? Maybe it doesn't matter anymore, because long after the lights fade and the beat stops, their words keep playing. And somewhere in that infinite replay, they're still alive. In the end, maybe these rappers didn't predict their deaths. Maybe they simply listened closely enough to hear what was already written. And if you listen till the end, you ought to have subscribed by now. If you don't, the ghost of Tupac will come for you. Also, do well to watch the next video. You would wish you didn't watch it after watching.